Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on our webinar today. I'm Tony, and I'm Wired's digital marketing trainer. Now, we'll start off this session with a little bit more information about Wired, just in case you've not come across us before. Do apologise, just having a few issues with the PowerPoint here. Hopefully you'll be able to see that now. If you just put something in the live chat, just let me know you can see the PowerPoint. That'd be brilliant. Hi, Imran. Thank you for joining us. And hi, High Control Limited. Thank you again for joining us. Just to make sure, can somebody just put in the live chat just to make sure that you can see the PowerPoint for me? That'd be brilliant. Thank you. Hi, Lewis. Hi, KDocs. No, Sue, no problem. Bear with me 2 seconds. Let me just reset everything from this side. Right, hopefully you can see it now. Thank you for the comments. Hopefully it should be popping up anytime. And there we go. Is that okay now? Brilliant. Thank you, guys. So as I mentioned, we're a full service email marketing agency. We specialize in email marketing. Our clients range from small businesses to large PLCs and everything in between. Now, we offer managed services through an agency style setup for clients who want to outsource their email marketing strategies, as well as offering support and training to clients who would prefer to create email templates and campaigns before sending them out themselves as well. So, whether you're looking for a bespoke template, do it yourself email sends, or full campaign strategy and implementation, we can support you to that success. Thank you for all the comments, guys. Hopefully, we'll manage to keep this PowerPoint on from now on in. So my own experience spans over 20 years, during which time I've been involved with digital marketing projects ranging from small, highly targeted postcode specific campaigns through to full national and multinational integrated marketing strategies. I've worked across a number of B2B and B2C sectors and love sharing what I've learned through that time as well. So that's what you need to know about us. We'll now move on to the webinar. Now, we always have quite a broad spectrum of attendees at our webinars, and the purpose of this one is to give you some further insight into how to start creating engaging email marketing and starting to get better returns and hopefully conversions from it as well. Now, the webinar should run for about 30 minutes, give or take, and you can contact us directly after the webinar finishes if you've got any questions or if you want to have more of an in-depth conversation as well. Also, feel free to use the live chat function on there as well. So if any questions do come up as we go through, I'd do my best to try and pick those up as well. So feel free to chat away in there. So first of all then, what we'll actually be covering. So first of all, we'll be looking at why we think email is so important. We'll then look at why your email needs to be engaging. We'll then move on to 5 attributes of an engaging email. We'll cover email relevancy, or being always relevant, and also some information on email and marketing automation as well. So first up, hello Sarah, thanks for joining us. So first of all, the importance of email marketing. If you have used email marketing in the past, or if it's part of your current marketing setup, which to be fair is probably covering most people now, you may already be aware of the main benefits of actually emailing contacts. But if not, here's why we find it to be so important for a wide variety of businesses. So as you already may be aware, buyers are now in control of the buying process much more than ever. You've probably experienced this as a buyer yourself as well. you're more likely to be shopping around, conducting research, and asking for recommendations on social media, forums, and that sort of area before you start making your purchasing decisions. You're usually a long way into the buying process before you start considering speaking to the companies or providers of what you're looking for. Now, this dramatic change in behaviour over probably about the last 10 years has led to digital marketing reigning as sort of top priority for a lot of brands. So anybody can send out email campaigns. And companies often, maybe too often, send batch and blast email campaigns out to get the brand and message out there. But that type of campaign can actually damage your brand and consumer relationships. As you can see there, it tends to alienate your customers. It's not very personal. They're just getting a one-hit sort of wonder. Oh, hi, Transvac. Or is it not moving on? Oh, sorry. It does look like we're still having some issues with this live feed. I do apologise. Let me see if I can just get back in. Sorry about this, guys. Nope, still the same screen, Luke. Right, let me try again. Let me just share everything. Okay, how's that? Let's see if this updates a little bit. Right, hopefully that's catching up. It's looking a little bit glitchy this side. Right, are you all seeing the importance of email marketing slide now? Is that better, guys? Is that updating now? Yep. Please keep me posted in the side if it doesn't keep updating as I go through. I do apologise. So, as I say, buyers are now in control. As we were saying, anybody can actually send out those email campaigns, the batch and blast email campaigns as well. Consumers do also have a very short attention span when browsing products. So for this reason, it's quite important to create a strong brand and to stand out from your competitors by actually sending personalized and relevant communications to your contacts. It is coming through with Throne of Vision, but I think it's just going quite slow. I think it may be the number of people on that's just causing a little bit of a glitch somewhere. So I will try and keep up with the slides as we go. So I do apologise. So to keep up with today's buyer, you need to know what makes email marketing engaging, how to communicate with your customers, and how to appeal to your customers as well. Hi, random name. Is that working okay now? I'm just looking on my second screen and it should just be popping through. Is everybody else seeing the updated screens? Yeah, super. Thanks, Geraldine. Thank you. And thank you again. So on screen now, we've got a statistic and it should just be popping shortly from eConsultancy. Now, this shows that email marketing generates an average return on investment of around 300%. So around a £24 return for every pound spent. You need to remember this important stat when you create any email marketing campaign. And this is one of the main reasons we love email so much, is that email marketing return on investment, which is huge compared to a lot of the other channels. And this is why engaging email is so important, and getting those conversions and getting the opens and click-throughs that we need. At the end of the day, emails can only do thanks, Luke. But yeah, the return on investment ultimately from email is actually getting people off the email to somewhere that will actually convert them. So whether that's a landing page, a website, or some other source, ultimately the emails themselves can't do the selling. They can only get somebody to take the desired action to get them somewhere that will get them to convert. So this is why engaging email is so important. Buyers are much more empowered. 60% of consumers make the buying decision before they actually approach the company or have any interaction with you. Thanks, random name. So yeah, 60% of consumers make that buying decision before they're actually approaching your company. As I've just mentioned a little bit earlier, consumers can access more information than ever in a much quicker way as well, especially with the uptake of mobile devices and that connectivity. They can also get hold of detailed specs. They can get hold of pricing, reviews of goods or services, all of which are usually all available online as well. Now, consumers are encouraged to share, especially the points of view, especially when it comes to referrals, and they're definitely not afraid of doing so now as well. I'm sure you'll have seen, especially when you're looking at your competition online, you tend to see the slightly more negative reviews and referrals on there rather than the good ones. But yeah, people are much braver and much more sort of enthusiastic about sharing their opinions, whether they're good, bad, or in between online as well now. So again, this is why engaging email is so important, to get them to actually share the positive stuff rather than potentially some of the not so good stuff. They also have broad access to resources, and they're proactively gathering information across multiple channels as well. So again, it's all about the control being in the buyer's hands now, and not so much in the company's hands. This is why, again, email is quite an important sort of control for us, because it's something that we can at least influence one way or another on what people are seeing and how we're approaching things. So buyers know how to opt out. Consumers are used to marketing, such things as ad blockers and fast forwarding through TV ads, that sort of thing. They're getting quite used to tuning out just random noise and messaging now as well. If you think about the last time you paid full attention to a TV advert, that will definitely give you some insight there. So random name, are these consumers and factors B2C? I suppose that's very much B2C when you're looking at consumers from that point of view, but also the B2B side of things. I don't know if you yourself deal with maybe product taking in services and that side of things, but again, the fact finders out there from a B2B point of view, they will be looking at a lot more sort of varied ranges of places they can get referrals and recommendations from, whether it's LinkedIn for sort of professional networking and advice if they do use that, although some companies aren't so keen on the sort of reviews they might get from there. But again, it's just the fact that whether you're B2B, B2C, or even not for profit, there's so much information out there online now that the messaging has to be absolutely crystal clear. It has to be concise. And email gives us the ability to be able to do that for any side of that fence, really. Your B2B subscribers to your emails or for marketing purposes, they're going to be signing up for different reasons than maybe the B2C side of things. But yeah, as the comment there is, B2B is becoming more like B2C. It certainly is. And again, it leads from companies like Amazon and Netflix and eBay, particularly. They're sort of training people to expect that sort of personal service, that very personalized. It's far removed from the mass marketing as before. It's very one-to-one and very, very relevant, which is something we do come on to a little bit later in the webinar. Definitely content marketing strategies. I definitely agree with that one as well. The content is going to be slightly different, B2B or B2C. But But yeah, again, you're going to be sharing this content out through the emails, whether you're B2B or B2C, it's always going to be about knowing your audience, knowing the personas that you're marketing to, the reasons for the content, why they're going to be wanting that content. Again, if you're working B2B, you'll have maybe a first hit of interest from the fact finders that are out there. They're certainly not the decision makers as a general rule, so they're going to want different information that they can then take to their superiors who are the decision makers. So when it comes to maybe the content marketing side of things, you might need to consider two different sort of approaches for the fact finders, and then giving the real sales material through to the next stage decision makers. And again, email gives you the ability to do that using things like segmentation and personalization and things like dynamic content as well. So you're not having to do everything just as one-off emails. You can do it in sort of larger numbers as well. So consumers also have sort of higher expectations. They're looking for a unified and personal experience across all the marketing channels too. And if your offering doesn't quite align with that, they will certainly get frustrated, and maybe consider competition, consider other companies as well. Again, they're expecting that sort of professional edge all in one place. They want a lot of information. They want it fast as well. And if you're not the ones providing that through any of your channels, you're going to expect probably lower return on investment from the work that you're doing. They also expect an experience that's seamless and consistent as well. So again, it's all about consistency. Excuse me. But it's got to be seamless. It's got to be consistent, whether that's emails, series of emails, newsletters, that sort of thing too. Now, moving on to the next slide. For these reasons, obviously email matters more today than ever before. There are the experts out there who keep saying that email marketing's dead and email's dying. It's certainly not the case, because it is the one unique identifier that we've got across all the channels that we may be using as well. If you think about signing into social media accounts or for new social media accounts, they're always asking for an email address to be able to identify everyone as unique users. So, as I say, some people do argue that email marketing's dead, or that social media is actually overtaken email as well. We do beg to differ. Companies now have the flexibility to communicate across multiple channels, but that doesn't mean that email marketing is a tool that should be disregarded, as maybe the experts or some of the experts do say. If you actually think about it, chances are that every one of your customers has and accesses an email address, or at least one. Some may have several as well, for various purposes. Especially if you're into email marketing, you tend to have 3 or 4 just to get an idea of the competition. So you'll set one up just as a separate inbox there, just to see what competition's doing. So, but one thing you can be guaranteed, whether you're B2B, B2C, or not for profit, nearly everyone you're going to be speaking to is going to have an email address. Now, research also suggests that email is a customer preference. Now, shortly on screen, I'm just keeping an eye on for it coming through, because I do apologize, it is glitching a little bit at this side again. But 77% of consumers actually prefer to receive permission-based marketing via email, according to a report that was conducted by Waldo Social, as you can see on screen there. Again, this was across the board for B2B and B2C sector. And then 58% of adults check email first thing in the morning. And that was according to Marketing Sherpa. Now, I don't know if you want a quick show of hands in the live chat, but who actually does that? Who checks their email first thing in the morning, probably even before they get out of bed if they're looking on a smartphone or a mobile device? There are quite a few people out there that are that do check. Yep. Thanks, High Control. Would you say that's mainly on a smartphone, or would you say it tends to be on maybe a larger device? Yep, quite a few coming through. So most people are sleeping next to the phones then, I would assume from that. Yep, from bed. Sadly, and Facebook. Oh, brilliant random name. So it must take you a good hour to get out of bed then in the morning when the looks of that. So yeah, it's one of those things. And again, from phone, PC. Oh, PC. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, but not from bed. Cool. Yep, smartphone. So as you can see, I mean, I suppose as a quick poll on just this webinar alone, a lot of people are sort of following that process. So what you need to then think is, are our customers or prospects or clients, are they also doing the same thing? Because I assume that we're covering quite a broad spectrum of industries and niches in the webinar today as well. So if that is the case, then maybe we need to start thinking about how do we adapt our approaches to fit this. And if we can then start engaging people at that point, maybe trying to get the emails in, not necessarily sent on a night so they're there in the inbox first thing in the morning, but can we interrupt what everyone else is doing and get to the top of the inbox at that point in time? So maybe using the data sets that we've got and the information from our email service providers or whatever systems we use to see when the best time is likely to actually get in front of people's eyes when they're looking. And also, the next quote is that consumers who are active online cite email as one of their regular activities, and that comes from Pew Internet. Again, it probably is one of the big things. I would say probably social media is a little bit more towards the main use now. But yeah, email's probably a secondary to that as well. So we've now covered why email is important, but we need to learn more about how to make the emails engaging to your actual audience. So what I'll do now is explain how your emails can become engaging to your contacts in maybe just a few steps. We've got 4 or 5 steps here. So the first is to be trustworthy. We've then got being relevant, being conversational, coordinating with other marketing channels, and also being strategic. So first of all, we'll look at the trustworthy side. Sorry, I'm just waiting for this catching up on your screens. So starting with trustworthy, obviously your contacts need to trust your brand. Contacts will only let emails that are trusted past their spam filters. The internet service providers may be slightly different in that regard, but it's quite easy for one of your contacts to mark an email as spam or to just delete it without opening it as well. So they can be quite choosy on what goes in there. There is a statistic out there, it's been quoted quite recently, that says the average person gets around 150 emails a day, which is quite a lot. They're just personal emails that they're quoting, so I'm not sure whether everybody gets that sort of amount. But still, there's a lot of noise in there, and there is unfortunately still a lot of spam gets through. So contacts are particularly cagey about giving their information, and also they're very savvy when it comes to data protection. So to gather information and to encourage contacts to give up their personal information, you do need to be quite trusted, very trustworthy with what you're doing. So you can do that by setting expectations during and after the opt-in process. You can tell contacts about what kind of email marketing you will send them and how often you're going to do it as well. So actually setting those expectations right from the offset and telling them what to expect next. You can also tell them when they're likely to receive the first campaign, and be consistent. So don't say you'll send monthly newsletters and then ignore your contacts, and don't make promises to them that you can't actually keep. The final point there is, as you can see, is be legal. So in the UK, it is data law to include an unsubscribe links in all of your email communications, and you must deal appropriately with any unsubscribe requests as well. Now, if you use an email service provider, that's usually done pretty much instantaneously, but if you're not using a system like that, it's still important to remove those unsubscribes straight away. Again, just from a trust point of view. So moving on to being relevant. So your emails have to be relevant. Relevance means knowing your audience and what they actually want from your emails. Being relevant to your customers actually increases engagement with your brand, as you're showing your readers that you know who they are, what they're interested in, and ultimately what products or content they want to read as well. So you should also focus on being personal in that content. Now, oh, is it all working, Nadine? I've got the comment through, so hopefully you should be able to ask any questions if you've got any now. So thank you for the message there. So yeah, the personalization side of things, it's not just a case of including someone's first name in the subject line or as a high first name sort of email. Personalization is also about getting the right content in front of people too that is relevant to them. And again, this is bringing us back to the relevance side of things. So subject lines, you can demonstrate how well you know your audience as well. This is where readers truly feel like you're talking to them and not just part of one big email blast. Personalization just gives it that little bit of an edge. When you include segmentation with that as well, starting to separate your big list of contacts into smaller groups of people, again, it increases that relevancy, which should increase the likelihood, first of all, that people feel like it's a personal experience. But also, the more relevant it is to people, the greater the chance they're actually going to become conversions, make the sale, be a subscriber, whatever the conversion from the emails you need them to be. And if you're not sending relevant emails to your subscribers, it is likely that they're going to opt out or they're just not going to convert, and ultimately they're not going to engage with your brand anyway. And the last point there is always look to improve as well. Again, you're not always going to be perfect with every email campaign that goes out, but using the data, analyzing it, looking at what you did right, what you might be able to try again next time or experiment with, and moving on is one of the best ways to ensure that everything's always as engaging as you possibly can make it. So moving on to conversational, which is with the third point there. So as we've already mentioned, your customers don't want to feel like they're part of one big email blast. When email marketing just started taking off, which is going back a few years now, marketers were basically just translating what they were doing offline directly into their emails. They sort of blasted the information to as many customers and prospects as they could. The reality is, though, that in this digital age, as some people are calling it, consumers actually want the messages that flow one to the next, and they want to adapt to sort of contact feedback, and they know they're being listened to, the voice is being heard. This is why being conversational is one of the key techniques in converting contacts into engaged contacts. Again, the conversions come about as the personalization and as the relevance is built, and that trust is built from obviously the first point that we made. So next point, number 4, is coordinated with other marketing channels. This is considering how email will actually fit in with your overall marketing plan. So not using it as a silo as we do with any other channels. Social media on its own works okay, but if you can incorporate it into other marketing plans and your other channel plans, it certainly makes everything much stronger. And email's no different to that. It should be used as a central hub to everything that you're doing externally and internally to a degree as well. So during the research period before the buy, your contact may view your site. They'll check out your emails, read your social feeds. Then they're likely to go back to the site again for some further information. It's sort of a constant cycle they work through as they're going through the research and decision-making process. So your email marketing should be aligned with your overall brand message to deliver an integrated brand experience. So as contacts use different forms of mediums, such as the social media and the forums, the review sites, for the research, it's important that your brand is actually represented correctly across all those platforms. Ultimately, email is the digital glue that holds everything together, as you can see on the screen there. So point number 5 is being strategic. So finally, reacting to your contact's behavior in a strategic way is one of the key elements of engaging emails. So insight such as understanding what time or when your customers like to receive emails, what type of content they're interested in and what they spend, they're all valuable assets to use within your email campaigns. Using the right email marketing software can make that job a lot easier, as you're able to use sort of analytical tools that they have to gain real-time insight into the customers on their engagement trends. You can split test on subject lines, you can test send times, and then you're able to react accordingly and sort of improve as you go along with each separate send that goes out there. So a few little bits of advice there. Consider opens, clicks, and conversions as a whole to measure engagement. So we move on to part 2, and always being relevant. I'm just waiting for the screen to catch up for you again. I do apologize again. So always relevant. So at this point, we wanted to delve more into that second point that we discussed a few moments ago. So how exactly do you become relevant? Now, the graph that's on screen is something that we at Wired use to demonstrate how our lead generation strategy works. By sending batch and blast email campaigns to all of your contacts, you're likely to see a very small return on investment and conversion rate, as demonstrated by the blue section on the left-hand side, so under the shotgun approach. Now, this was a study that was done across the board for B2B and B2C sector, so it's a broad scope, and it's to give you an idea of sort of average conversion rates. You may do more, you may do less, but this gives you an idea of how it all compares in general. So, as I say, the blue section is where the batch and blast approach is happening, that common approach. If you start sending campaigns that are targeted with the contact's information or their behavior with the campaigns, your campaigns start to become a lot more focused. So the columns there, or is it a little bit blurry? The columns there are, the first one is the shotgun approach. We've then got a demographic approach, which is the second column. We've then got character approach, behavioral approach, and interaction approach. So basically, many apologies, guys. So what we've got there are 5 independent sections. Shotgun approach being the one that most people are using. If we start considering the demographics there, so that could be where people are based, what devices they're using, the times that they're opening their email, that sort of thing. Using the demographic side of things, we can increase the conversion rate pretty much double from a 0.9 average, 0.9% average up to about 2.1%. Oh, thank you, Ian and Nadine. We then move on to using people's character. So thanks, random name. Oh, there you go. There's the trick. Thanks, Luke. If you change that quality to 720, that should solve it. But basically, as we're moving along these columns, we're then using more data and more insight from the information that we have on our contacts. Again, whether it's B2C or whether it's B2B, it doesn't matter. What we're looking at doing is making things as relevant and as one-to-one personal as we can make it for the person who's opening that email. So if we start using behaviors, we're then looking at an average conversion rate of about 4.1% across the board, which is, just a little bit over 4 times, nearly 5 times the amount of an average shotgun blast approach email. So again, it's about using that data and making the most of it. If you can then start getting brilliant. So if you can get, people interacting and engaging with those emails into that 5th column, the interaction approach, the conversion rate on average is up at about 6% against an average shotgun approach of 0.9%. So it's all the more reason why we need to be using a much more sort of data-driven approach and using the insights that we've got from your own data, from the systems that you're using to send your emails. So that one-to-one focus makes it more personal, and it obviously converts at a much higher rate as well. It's also worth pointing out, though, that continually sending sales campaigns won't engage contacts if they're not at the stage when they're ready to buy. So it is a case of sort of nurturing and developing relationships with people. B2C is a much, much quicker sales cycle. So sometimes it doesn't feel as if you've got the time to build those relationships. But ultimately, the people and contacts and consumers are still going through the same marketing funnel, from awareness stage to consideration stage to conversion stage. B2B sometimes could see that they've got a luxury of more time to build a relationship, but that means that everything has to be done absolutely perfect. To make sure that that at no stage in that slightly longer sales process that you're losing the engagement of your contacts as well. So again, slightly different focus, but you're still moving people through the funnel using the same strategies. So by sending combinations of sales campaigns and content-led campaigns, you can actually position your company as a thought leader in your industry. Your company will be at the forefront of the contact's mind when they're actually ready to buy. So again, whether that's B2B or B2C. So how do you become relevant? So obviously we need to put this theory into action. And one of the tools we use in order to send relevant campaigns is segmentation, which is something that I've just mentioned in passing as we were coming through. Now, segmentation means splitting up your data into smaller groups to attain higher engagement. Some people may see segments as their buyer personas if you've got them set up. Sometimes they're a lot more detailed than maybe a buyer persona could ever be as well. But basically, you can split your data up in two ways. So you can base it on who they are, or you could base it on what they've done, or a mix of both, even if you wanted to do that too. You can also use demographics, geographics, psychographics, so people's interests and opinions as well, and also behavioral segmentation. So there's a lot of different parts of data you can use to segment. So an example here would be that you want to send one version of a campaign to anyone that's opened an email from you. You could then send a different campaign to contacts that have never opened a campaign from you, but you'd send that maybe at a different time or with a different subject line to try and engage the contacts in a new way. So that's a very straightforward segment, people that have opened, people that haven't opened. But I'm sure you can then see that you can split the open section into people that have opened and clicked from the email and people that have opened and not clicked anything. So again, you can start being really, really intricate with the details that you're segmenting on. Now, this quote here sort of really drives home how important advanced features such as segmentation are to your campaigns. And hopefully it'll pop on the screen shortly. But we've got 76% of all email marketing revenue came from more advanced practices, such as segmentation, than generic broadcast email. And that came from the DMA. So quite a strong stat there to sort of push the segmentation case and the personalization case as well. Again, generic emails are good and they have the place. Things like newsletters, changes of terms and conditions, any sort of security, things like that. Yeah, batch and blast is absolutely fine. But when it comes to actually trying to get people to move from one mindset to another, from an awareness stage to consideration stage, or consideration stage to conversion, personalization and segmentation and relevancy is extremely important for that. So content and brand image is also important to increasing contact engagement and also to stand out from your competition. Now this slide showcases how content and design can also boost engagement from your emails. Now these campaigns are examples from one of our managed clients who are Natural Balance Foods. Now, they sent a nice sales campaign to anyone that had previously opened a campaign from them. But what they sent was also a special offer to any non-openers. The plan was to engage contacts with something different to try and get them to convert into engaged contacts. So the next time Natural Balance Foods sent the campaign, those non-engaged contacts are hopefully going to be more likely to open and click on the email, as they actually saw an enticing offer the last time that they were contacted. So as you can see, we've got the engaged campaign sent to all previous click-throughs on the left, and then the one that went out to the non-engaged with the special offer, just to try and get them to actually engage that time round. Ultimately, again, I don't know how everyone else is working out there when it comes to list hygiene, but sometimes it needs to be a case of that there's quite a few non-engaged contacts in your list. Rather than constantly try to send out to them and trying to get them to trigger, it may be worth treating them slightly differently, putting them into a new address book or a new list, and then taking them down sort of a re-engagement route. And ultimately, it's costing you time and money to market to them. So if they're not going to engage after X amount of time that you define yourselves, it is a case of just removing them from the list and making sure you're only sort of contacting people that are going to engage as well. So we move on to part 3, which is automation. So the third part of the webinar obviously focuses on automation itself. Automation is used to create a real-time, engagement-focused campaign structure that is personalized to the consumer and reacts to their previous behavior. The main benefits of automation are quite obvious, I suppose. They include saving time, saving money, and effort. But automation also helps you push your contacts down that sales funnel. So, as I was mentioning before, it's a case of leading people now rather than maybe just following them around. Engaging email will do that as well, especially if you use automation and automation programs. They work basically because you're regularly contacting them with informative and relevant campaigns, not just the sales and promotional stuff, but also that relationship building, lead nurturing content as well. The real key to a successful automation campaign is firstly to understand the customer journey and obviously the buyer personas as a result of that, and to prep and plan for that. But secondly, the content within each campaign is also important. So as you saw with the natural balance foods there, it was a case of two separate campaigns with very similar content in for the different parts of the strategy that they were in. So using an automation program and the tools we've discussed today to send content that would be relevant for your contacts, basing it on their behaviors, their individual needs, looking at their personal situation, the data that you've got, segmenting on that, personalizing as well. And that should help increase return on investments and produce those engaging emails that you're looking for. So we move on to the conclusion. So in a nutshell, by sending campaigns that are personal, that are trustworthy, that are relevant and targeted through segmentation, your email campaigns should and will become more engaging, and your contacts are going to be more likely to actually react to your messaging. They're more likely to follow your call to actions, and in turn, your stats will increase, your conversions will increase, and your brand awareness will increase as well. Hi, Luke. Part of our platform itself does offer the ability for marketing automation programs. So it's a sort of full service there, if you will. So we've got the email platform side, we've got a drag and drop editor as well. And then the marketing automation suite comes in as part of the systems too. But if you want to have a look at those systems, we can set up free trials and demos as well. So feel free to get in touch with us if you just want to see how the systems work. Does anyone else have any questions regarding sort of automation? Because it tends to be sort of a newer topic when we go through our webinars, or something that people are it's sort of in the fact find mode at this point in time. Thanks, Sarah. So just to ask that question, just in case anybody's not got access to the live chat there, what sort of industries are people marketing to? What industry are you in, Sarah? Right, thanks, Nadine, and hi, Control. Oh, thanks, Ariam. Aviation, brilliant. What part of aviation is it, Sarah? Social care. Thanks, CareDocs. B2B. Thank you. Yeah, very niche that, Sarah. So quite a broad scope of attendees again, then, as we usually find. But yeah, we're more than happy to engage with any of you on sort of Facebook and Twitter as well. So if you do want to catch up and have a chat at any point about email marketing and what you're doing with your own niches, certainly get in touch. We're more than happy to answer any questions or even just to have a listen about your stories as well. Oh, thanks, Marketing Lancashire. So yeah, good scope. So as I say then, that's, unless anybody's got any other questions, that's the end of the webinar. I hope that you have found it useful and that you've now got sort of a better of an understanding of how to create engaging email campaigns and strategies. I suppose it is to a degree, Sarah. There's always ways and means, though. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. As I say, our contact details are on screen, and at Wired, we're very, very open to any questions that you might have. So please feel free to contact us if you want to see how we can help you achieve your email marketing success, or even if you just want to have a chat about what you're doing with your campaigns at the moment. Hi, random name. Oh, thanks, Evan Grace. What's your view on B2B using Facebook and Twitter? We had B2C getting close to B2B. Oh, thank you, Nadine. So random name. Again, every B2B is quite broad scope, naturally. Facebook and Twitter have, I suppose, been seen as quite B2C. The B2B side of things, the decision makers and the fact finders are still active on Facebook and Twitter. You need to know your own audience. You need to look into the data that you've got across the board. That will tell you really whether the demographics meet Facebook's audience and Twitter's audience. Twitter is a little bit more geared towards B2B. There's a lot more companies starting to use it as well now. The thing with all social media sites really is the fact that you're going to have to pay to play. Again, whether it's B2B and you've got a maybe slightly higher cost sales, higher cost products and services, it might sort of justify the spend. But is the spend justified if the audience aren't there? It's always that catch-22. So it is always going to be a case of look at your own data, maybe run a few sort of experiments and maybe try one or the other for a length of time, see if you do get anything out of it. It's not going to work for everybody, especially B2B. It does tend to be the domain of maybe Twitter, more than likely LinkedIn. Again, LinkedIn's going to be pay to play as well if you want to get put in front of the right audience in a short amount of time. But again, it's every company is different in the B2B sector on that one. So it's worth a try if you've not used it before, but I'd certainly look at the data first, look at your ideal target audience and make sure that that demographic fits with Facebook and Twitter. And again, it depends what countries you're using it in as well. If it's purely UK based, Facebook's audience is a little bit different to the sort of global demographic, and Twitter's a little bit different too. Twitter users are very, very engaged though. They'll check the feeds multiple times a day. They're always on a mobile device when they're doing it as a general rule. So know your customers to ensure it's relevant medium. Always, yep, always the case. It's a case of just making sure that you're looking at your ideal data sets, your ideal customers, where do they sit, where are your existing customers, where are your prospects, and then just make sure that the sort of target platform or channel that you're wanting to use actually has people of that demographic or that data set that'll meet it. Again, not everyone's on LinkedIn, so LinkedIn advertising might not work for everybody in every industry, but then other companies do really well with it. So yeah, always get to know your audience. Are there any other questions? No, that's super. Well, finally then, just to wrap up, the Wired team and I would like to thank you for attending our webinar today, and we wish you, thank you, random name, and we wish you every success with your email marketing. Thank you very, very much for attending, and we hope to see you at our future webinars. So thank you very much and goodbye.